who's in the know joins.
Amundsel was called Weathertop, right?
Is Amundsel weather? I don't know if it's. Yeah, it's the meeting point. Yeah, I guess it would have been.
You're talking about that hill I think that's the place where Frodo got stabbed, right? By the Nazgûl.
Not sure if it's the same place, but it's a significant place in Arnor in the beginning. And so the elves, I guess if you wanted to call factions, the elves of Lindon and the Imildris, they join up with the Arnorian forces, and they're like, hey, we got to go down and just get rid of Sauron. We're going to fight him. So they form something called the Last Alliance. As they start marching together, they cross, the Misty Mountains, and the dwarves of now Durin the Fourth, they end up joining with them to finally face off against Sauron.
Can I also just say that even though they met and formalized an alliance, they only moved out after like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like it's an instantaneous thing. This is like hundreds of years. But yeah, so they're marching.
True, but I guess let's just say that they prepared properly.
And then they also come across the other groups of elves that I keep mentioning. So they're led by King Oropher and King Amdir. So this isn't Mirkwood and Lothlórien, but it's the precursors to them, we can call
Greenwood
it.
And Lorien.
Yeah. It's Greenwood the Great and the Galadrim, they would be called back then. And they all get together. And the first major battle is on the plains of Dagorlad. The alliance, it's joining up with the Gondorian forces, and they're trying to get in formation, and everybody's doing their part, but those elves in the east, led by Oropher and Amdir, they're basically kind of foolish and childish, and they suddenly charge into Sauron's forces. They get cut off from the rest of the men.
I think they were a bit angry at the men, and they thought that they could just win it on their own with the glory.
Yeah, because they thought they had the numbers.
Yeah, and especially since it did go against Gil-galad's orders, who I think Gil-galad was appointed like the supreme commander. And
he's the supreme commander, but they don't respect him because they don't consider themselves like under the Noldor.
Yeah, but I think Gil-galad and Elendil were the number 1 and 2, right? Formally speaking.
Exactly. And they get absolutely destroyed. Both kings are slain, and a large portion of them are killed. And this is a battle that lasted months, apparently. Eventually, Gil-galad and Elendil's forces, they are able to overwhelm Sauron's armies, and they break through Cirith Gorgor, and then they start getting, into Mordor itself. And if people have seen, the movies...
Orfor's son, Thranduil.
Yeah, Thranduil is Orfor's son. Whereas the other forces are going to fall under Galadriel. This is the formation of Mirkwood and Lothlórien in the first age, in the third age.
That that opening cinematic of the Lord of the Rings.
That's why I chose the picture. It's directly from the movie.
Yeah, so especially like if you just like that part where you see like, and they show like both armies are marching side by side. So because on the elven side you see it like it's more of that golden hue, right? Because of the glint of their armors. And the men, it's more silver, kind of like, Gondor, Arnor types. And that arrow just going past Elrond. I think it was Elrond?
Yeah, it's Elrond.
Yeah. The fact that it just goes like just by his side and he doesn't even look phased.
So they're fighting in Mordor. It's actually, they're performing a siege of Barad-dûr. And it lasts for 7 years. Sauron is up in the towers throwing what Tolkien described as missiles. So could be magical weapons. We don't actually know what he's throwing, but it's something that he didn't say it was arrows. So, something was being thrown down. They took a lot of casualties. Within Golgoroth, Anarion was hit by a stone. And he ends up getting killed. But after 7 years, Sauron is like, he has no choice. He actually comes out to face them. And it's that big scene in the Fellowship of the Ring where he's just beating the shit out of people and knocking them around.
It's like I think you see at least 20 elves and men like in the cutscenes just being thrown about.
Yeah. And as everybody knows, he's taken down all these guys. He engages Gil-galad and Elendil in combat, manages to, kill him, and then just as he's going to hit Isildur, he uses his sword. Well, actually, it's fragments of Narsil, and he cuts the one ring from Sauron's hand. And Sauron is utterly destroyed, never comes back, and everyone lives happily ever after. That's how the Second Age kind of ends.
I would just say there was like this one game I used to play on my Xbox. Shit, man, I can't remember what was the name. It's not Battle for Middle Earth.
Battle for
It was-
Middle Earth. Oh my
No,
god.
no, no, it's not that. There was like one moment. I'm trying to recall that game. So you kind of like just play with different classes. I used to play this so much on my Xbox. Like you would have the warrior, archer, mage, and scout.
I'm not sure what game that is.
Ah, shit, man, I can't recall it.
I mean,
yeah,
there was that one game that was like, it was the same as Battlefront, but for Lord of the Rings. Wasn't that Battle for Middle Earth? Or what was it called?
yes, Lord of the Rings Conquest.
Conquest, yeah. Could have been better. I didn't hate it. Could have been better.
I know, but what I was getting to, when you play the alternative campaign where you take control of Sauron's forces. First of all, the first mission was pretty awesome because you only play as a Nazgul.
Yeah.
And when you get to the Siege of Rivendell and the missions at Weathertop and Destruction of the Shire, the hero that you get is Sauron. And I think him and Aragorn are the best heroes to play with in that game. And like Sauron is just like, oh, you would just be marching and destroying the elves or men, etc. It is amazing to play with him.
And I know you didn't have to ask the questions, but for the audience, there was like 10 questions that were involved in this, but like 5 of them are just basically answered by me just retelling kind of the Second Age history the way I did. But are there any other questions you had?
I think maybe we could just talk about like, the strength of the armies maybe, because I know you've done that in Wizards and Warriors, so maybe you could just want to briefly describe and talk about the armies of the Second Age.
So obviously, before its destruction, Númenor is the strongest. They can overwhelm everybody. Once Númenor has fallen, the realms in exile, they're populating by mingling with middlemen, so they're decreasing the strength of their Númenorian blood, but they are making numbers. So Gondor and Arnor do become significant. The elves are very much diminished for high elves. I will differentiate them. So the high elves are Lindon and Eriador. They've been dramatically reduced, whereas the two kingdoms of, don't call them lower elves, but the Galadrim and the Sylvian elves, I'll just call them Sylvian elves, it's easier. They're numerous. There's actually quite a lot of them. But
that is where Orfar and his companions were from.
Yeah, but 2/3 of them are destroyed in this war. They're the
all
most
thanks to the king's arrogance.
Yep, because the kings didn't want to listen to Gil-galad and they just rushed forward. And they took the fall that they took. Other than that, dwarves are not numerous in general, but Durin's folk, which is not just the Longbeards, it's also the refugees from Belagos and Novgorod. So you have the Firebeards and the Broadbeams. I think that's what they were called. There's the 2 other clans. They're part of Durin's folk, so they're like a cosmopolitan group. All the other dwarves in the east, maybe some of them fought on Sauron's side. We're not told who's doing what, but there wouldn't have been, I guess, too many of them. Of course, there's Easterlings and Southrons, but they're
I think the dwarves Sauron found just the stubbornness was very difficult for him to even control. So I guess I could agree that there would be some amount of dwarves fighting for Sauron, but probably like a very minuscule. Because I remember reading in Sauron's armies, his orcs and Uruk-hai were just cannon fodder, whereas the hard-hitting punches of his armies, if you just go like lore accurate, would be the Haradrim and Easterlings.
Yeah, of course, they're the real strength of his armies.